Maybe that was one of the things that I was lucky when I was so young because we moved around a lot when I was young, and one of the things that prepares you for is letting go. You have to, because when you move every frickin' 6 months or less, you have to kind of let go of things, and it gives you maybe a few other detriments or benefits, but one of the things definitely is the art of letting go, and that really is, sometimes I forget that there's a lot of people out there that have trouble with letting go.
Absolutely, and there's a lot of people who had a childhood similar to your own, who have learned to let go well, who have trouble hanging on.
Yeah, for sure.
Have trouble really allowing a closeness because the anticipation of letting go is there so constantly.
I'm a good kind of example of that because this is the longest relationship I've ever been in, and this has been really difficult. This is the longest I've ever been in one place in my life. I've always usually about 3 to 4 years is about, okay, I need change.
Yes.
And it's difficult.
All that is to say is, our coping strategies for anxiety largely came out of our childhood. Some of our coping strategies are going to serve us in certain situations. Like if you had to move tomorrow, your coping strategy for dealing with anxiety is probably going to come in handy.
Right. Oh, definitely. I could move.
Right.
I could do that easily tomorrow.
But
be
if
gone.
you want to be in a long-term committed relationship, that strategy is not so helpful.
That's very true. That's why I go on walkabouts.
Right. Yeah. So it's not that even we all made these strategies for very good reasons based on the experience that was going on when we were children. And some of them can be, almost all of them, are useful in some situations and disastrous in others.
Yeah, true enough. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
I want to get this in there before I forget, so we may come back to a few things. But now, if people want to read some of your work or maybe to buy a couple of your books or the audios, where can they go about to do those sorts of things?
The easiest thing to do is to just go to my website, which is Oriah, ORIAH.org.
There you
and
go.
all of the books are listed there and the CDs that are available and whatnot. And, and there's excerpts from everything there so they can have a look and see what they think.
Nice. Your blog is wonderful.
Thank you.
There's some great concepts and themes that you get into. I think that we could sit here for hours and get into them and still not be done. I think they're
sure. And there is a link, of course, on the website to the blog as well as to the there is an Oriah Mountain Dreamer Facebook page, and I tend 5 out of 7 days to sort of put something up in the morning that it just comes up in my own meditation, and then people have some really wonderful conversations there about it.
What do you find, or how have you found this new media that's kind of taking shape with the internet, and has it changed your way of writing or influenced your way of connecting with people?
Absolutely. I actually didn't get on Facebook or do a blog until I think it was starting last November, and I really didn't want to go there. I mean, I'm as my sons will tell you, I'm old. That's why they would say. And my agent sort of was pushing it, and somebody in South Africa had actually set up an Oriah Mountain Dreamer fan site that I didn't know about, and so it took me quite a long time to track him down until somebody suggested that usually the first person on the list is the one who started it, and sure enough, there he was. But so I kind of put my toe in that water and have been overwhelmed in a really positive way with the level of conversation with, I think by this time people are aware that the sites, both my personal site under Oriah House and the Oriah Mountain Dreamer site, that I'm not all that interested in your mafia wars or your farm bill or whatnot. I think we've established that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've just been really touched by the level of interaction of people's honesty and, of course, these wonderful conversations that happen literally with people around the world at the same time. I just the other day, I can't even remember what the topic was, but a woman wrote a message who is a police officer in Johannesburg, South Africa, and which, as you can imagine, is an incredibly challenging position to be in.
Yeah.
And how much she draws from things like these conversations online. So the other thing, because I've had chronic illness in my life, I attract a lot of readers who are chronically ill because they know that I understand that reality. And, of course, many of them are bedridden or they're not able to leave their homes. So to be able to participate in that level of conversation when they can't get out of the house, having been somebody who's been through isolation because of chronic illness, I would see that as invaluable.
Yeah.
So I'm very touched by how it can really work well.
It has, in my life, through different times, one of caring for Dad in his last year, it was my lifeline.
Yes.
Because 24/7, just me.
Yep.
I was luckily able to keep him in the house. He only spent like the last day or two in the hospital, but I was able. He had a huge fear of that, and so we were able to coexist in a small little home, and because I couldn't leave, just being the only person, I couldn't go out for any length of time. So it really saved me.
Yeah.
Huge.
I think it's important to know what it's not.
Yes.
But I think it's also important to appreciate that it does offer a certain kind of community. I just think is invaluable to people.
Truly, and I mean, it makes the world, it can make the world a very, very small place.
Yeah, I put something up for the spring equinox and whatnot, and of course was reminded immediately by people on the other side of the world that it was their fall equinox. So you have a very immediate sense of of course, that's going on at the same time,
There was one, I wanted to ask you this before and now I've lost it. I got like 8 pages of stuff here, so it's like, I always find that things go better when you're over-prepared than when this is something that you had wrote about. How do we go through what feels like unbearable pain without closing or disconnecting from our hearts?
Well, of course, the answer to that is sometimes we do it well and sometimes we don't.
Yeah.
And that's different from moment to moment. So we don't go through it perfectly. But if we can just at least pose the question to ourselves when we're going through change that may be painful, involuntary, then I think what we're really talking about is first and foremost not disconnecting from ourselves. I mean, I think many people think of that question, not disconnecting from my heart and whatnot, as a way to stay open to others, and certainly it is. But that's almost like graduate work. The first step would be to just stay open to ourselves and stay connected to ourselves.
Yeah.
And when we're in a lot of pain, I don't think we can do that all the time. So I don't want to set up a false ideal. I think there is a place for, as I said, skillful distraction, because we can only, do so much at a time. We can only do what we can. There's that phrase about do what you can, don't do what you can't.
Yes.
So I think it's we do the best we can. I think asking ourselves the question is continually bringing us back to checking. Am I in touch with my heart? Can I sense at all where it is? What's going on there? Can I breathe into that place? And if I can't, what can I do? Can I, my watchword on this for how we treat others, how we treat ourselves is, when in doubt, be kind.
Yes.
That's pretty much the best you can do. You try to be as conscious, as open, as connected to your own heart as possible. And when in doubt about, will this thing or that thing help this, be kind and ask yourself, what would being kind to myself look like? That's actually a really good way to tell if something is a skillful or an unskillful distraction. Because, say, drinking a lot of alcohol or eating a lot of junk food or watching hours and hours of television is truly not really being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Because you know that the consequence of that is not going to be good.
I had a feeling that was very important to be answered here today. And I have a listener, and I hope he may be having trouble getting us now because he was moved to a different cell. But I had this phone call once, a number of years ago. Well, not once, but it began from that day, and then I actually gave him my home number. But this inmate at there's 2 jails outside Winnipeg, and he was in one of them, and he's been moved to the other one, and now he's been having trouble getting us. But for me, it didn't change what I did, but I guess the reward factor, it boosted it for me just to know, because when he phoned and said, I just want to thank you for doing what it is that you're doing, because this is making my day in here. And I start my week off listening to your show. And that just, when we're able to help someone by having a guest on and then they resonated with that guest or the music, and it's just, that's why I asked that, because I think that's going to help somebody today.
Well, I hope so. I mean, and I think what you said, when you asked about faith earlier, I think that has to do with faith. You do whatever it is you do to the best of your ability, and you have some faith that it will land in a place that hopefully will bring some assistance, some alleviation of suffering.
Yeah, awesome. I want to thank you for taking the time this morning to share some of your sacred space with our sacred space.
My pleasure.
Okay.
Her graciousness.
Her graciousness. Yeah. I tell you, sometimes I just to the moon. I keep thinking of what's his name? What, the Honeymooners? Or was that what it was?
Exactly.
Yeah, to the moon, to the moon. Yeah. So thank you very much. And it's just too bad that these 2 hours go so darn quick. We're just going to have to do it again sometime.
Okay.
Sweet. So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, and folks, it's www.oriah.org, and that's ORIAH.org to check out some of Oriah Mountain Dreamer's writings, and she's got her books and some of the audio as well. Peace out.